Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Jen and I'm here in Melbourne, Florida. Now we've all noticed the sky-high prices at the grocery store. Maybe you're already into gardening and you're trying to figure out what crops you can grow to maximize how much money you can save on your grocery bill. What I'm going to share with you today is my top 5 crops to help save you money on your grocery bill. We'll talk through the cost at the grocery store, the cost of the seeds or the transplants and compare those two, and I'll share ideas about how you can multiply those plants to give you even more harvests. Let's get into it. The first one I want to talk about is herbs. If you've ever been to the grocery store and seen those plastic containers in the produce section of herbs like rosemary, chives, oregano, thyme, and mint, you'll notice those are at least $2 for half an ounce. Let's compare that cost to the cost of a seed packet of rosemary or mint or oregano or thyme or chives. Those seed packets are going to vary a little bit, but they're going to be somewhere around $3 for about 30 seeds. Now that means you can plant several different plants with one seed packet. The perennial herbs like thyme, rosemary, chives, oregano, those ones are so easy to grow and they'll stick around for a long time. Another thing you can do with those types of herbs is actually propagate them. Last time I propagated rosemary, all I did was take a cutting of it right where this woody stem turns white. You cut it right there and you put it into some soil and then you'll let it grow roots and then you can have an entirely new rosemary plant like I have back here. These two plants back here are from my propagations. Other herbs like cilantro and basil can be a little bit trickier. They're going to be more like annuals for you, and you're going to have a season in which you can grow them, and then you're going to have a season in which they'll probably bolt and not do well, and you'll have to pull them out of the garden. Herbs like that can be grown indoors during seasons like that, especially because they only have partial sun requirements. On that note, herbs can actually be really easy from a maintenance perspective. This pot of rosemary doesn't even have any watering connected to it. There's no watering olla, there's no drip irrigation on it. All it needs is the natural rainfall in my area, and it does well. I've also, in the past, I've set up an herb garden with a variety of herbs using a watering olla, and it's so simple and the herbs were so happy with it. I'll put a link right up here to that video if you want to check it out. When your basil or cilantro bolts, another thing you can do to try to save costs is save those seeds. Yes, you can let those plants bolt and go to seed and save those seeds and re-sow them during the next season. Now, if you have something like a raised garden bed, one of the best methods of planting herbs is interplanting with your other main crops. They actually have great companion planting and pest deterrence properties. Another great reason to plant herbs. When it comes to using your herbs, there's a variety of ways to do it. You can use them fresh. For example, we commonly use rosemary in sourdough bread or when we're grilling steaks. You can also dry those herbs and store them as dried herbs to use in your cooking. Some other methods of preserving herbs include making sauces or something like a basil pesto or a salsa. To me, that's why growing herbs at home is a no-brainer. My second type of crop you should consider growing is leafy greens. Now, most commonly, people use leafy greens for salads. Have you checked the price lately of those plastic containers of baby spinach at the grocery store? They're almost $5 for 10 ounces. You could also get a bunch of kale or a bunch of green leaf lettuce for a little less, but it's still much higher than the cost of growing it in your garden. The cost of leafy green seeds like kale or baby spinach, those are going to vary a little bit, but they're around the $3 mark. But you need to consider how many seeds you get in a packet, right? It's around 30, maybe 50 seeds. So you could plant several of those crops in your garden all at the same time, or you could stagger the planting by 2 weeks and have a continuous harvest throughout your growing season of lettuces. Let's consider this hypothetical scenario where you went to the grocery store and you bought that $5 package of baby spinach, and it's been sitting in your fridge and things happened throughout the week and you actually didn't even use it, and you go to use it a couple days later than you were planning to, and you open that container and all of it went bad. You can mostly eliminate that by using leafy greens in your garden and harvesting them right before you make your salad. Now, it may be challenging to set up that steady stream of salad greens throughout the entire year, especially if you're in a climate where you have a period of time where you can't grow much of anything. But here in Florida, I could theoretically grow my salad greens all year round. I just might have to change the variety that I'm growing depending on the season. For example, we're in the middle of summer right now. There's no way I could grow kale successfully right now. It would probably just bolt. Kale likes the cooler weather, but something that would thrive is like a Swiss chard or a tropical spinach like Malabar spinach. Now, to maximize your money saving with leafy greens, what you can do is harvest using the cut and come again method. The cut and come again method is one where you'll harvest the leaves on the outside of the plant, leaving that heart on the interior intact so that it'll regrow leaves. Another method could be succession planting, like I mentioned before, where you plant seeds for that crop every 2 weeks or so. Now, leafy greens are usually used to make salads, but don't forget about the other ways you could use them. You could saute them on the stove as a side dish, or you could put them in your smoothie for an extra boost of nutrition. My next grocery bill saving crop is more of a category than a specific crop. I call these 2-for-1 veggies. These are ones where there's 2 different parts of the crop that you can harvest and eat and prepare in a different way. Let me share some examples of ones that I've used in the past. When I first grew Brussels sprouts, I couldn't believe how many leaves it produces on the side of the stalk during the same time frame that it's producing those sprouts on the stem. And what you can do is harvest those leaves and cook them just like you would any other green, like a turnip green. And then when the Brussels sprouts are ready, you harvest the Brussels sprouts and you eat those too. Broccoli is pretty similar in the sense that it has a main broccoli head, but it also has all of these offshoots and leaves that come off the side that you can harvest and eat as well. Now, within this 2-for-1 vegetable category, we also have root crops. Root crops like radishes and turnips have both the root that you harvest and the leaves you can harvest and eat. Turnips can be prepared in a similar way to potatoes, like mashed potatoes, or roasted in the oven. And the greens are so good if you cook them over low heat for a few hours with some seasonings like garlic, onion, bacon grease. Yet another example of a 2-for-1 vegetable is sweet potato. I've got a million sweet potato vines going in the garden right now because it's August and sweet potatoes love the heat. Now, when they're ready, I'll be able to harvest the tubers underneath the soil, but in the meantime, all of these sweet potato leaves are edible. You can actually use them as a spinach substitute and just put them directly in your salad. So these crops become a grocery bill buster because you're comparing the cost of 2 items in the produce section, like greens and root veggies, to the cost of seeds. The 4th crop I'm going to talk about is probably not going to surprise you. It's tomatoes. Now, we all know we have slicing tomatoes that you can slice and put on top of a burger or a sandwich. And then we also have something like cherry tomatoes that we put on top of salads, or we snack on. Here in Florida, our favorite variety is the Everglades tomato, and that's what I've been growing all summer. At the grocery store, a pint of cherry tomatoes might run you about $3. But a seed packet for cherry tomatoes is going to run you about $3 as well. And if you've ever grown cherry tomatoes, you know that you're going to get a million volunteer plants that just randomly pop up around it. Slicing tomatoes are not quite as expensive as cherry tomatoes, but they're so fun to grow. I'm going to grow a Cherokee Purple variety this year. Since a cherry tomato plant is producing tiny little fruit, it doesn't require quite as much fertilizer as a slicing tomato. A slicing tomato is producing these big tomatoes and is going to need some regular feeding with fertilizer. If you're looking to learn how to care for a big fruiting crop, try growing slicing tomatoes this year. Again, a seed packet of tomatoes is going to come with probably 30, maybe 50 seeds of tomatoes. But you're probably not going to have that many plants. If you do, I really hope you know how to make some spaghetti sauce or ketchup because you're going to just be loaded with tomatoes. My last money-saving crop is going to be strawberries. This carton of strawberries cost me $4. Now, the only reason I bought them is because my kids love them and I can't grow them in August in Florida. But I will be planting a whole lot of strawberries in the month of October this year, and I should be able to get several harvests from those plants. The cost of grocery store strawberries is high, especially if you get the organic ones. But to be honest, the cost of strawberry transplants and bare root strawberry plants are pretty high too. And you need quite a few crops to be able to grow a good amount of strawberries. The good thing about them is they take up a very small footprint in the garden, and a lot of people actually grow their strawberries vertically in something like a green stalk or a garden tower too, or many other ways. And strawberries are some of the easiest plants to multiply. They naturally create these runners that you can let root, and you'll have another plant that produces strawberries. There's also really great ways to preserve strawberries. You can freeze them, and you can also go ahead and make a jelly or a jam. And with strawberries in particular, they're part of the Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen is a list of fruits and vegetables that are highly recommended to buy organic because of how soft their skin is and the likelihood of things like pesticides being used on those crops. So on top of saving money by growing your own strawberries, you can also be a little more careful about what you're spraying on those plants and not spray anything you don't want to ingest. Now I know I already listed 5 crops, but I think one deserves to be mentioned as an honorable mention. To me, that is fruit trees. I have a mango tree out front that I bought for like 40 bucks a year ago, and I already have 2 mangoes on it. In the next year and the year after that, I'll just get more and more mangoes. I also have Sugar Bell mandarin trees and Barbados cherry trees, and I plan to buy several more fruit trees this fall. Now, fruit trees definitely have a higher cost at the beginning. Like I just said, I think I bought my mango tree for 40 bucks at my local nursery a year ago, which is pretty high compared to all the prices we've been talking about. But something like a fruit tree is going to last years and years and produce over and over. And fruits tend to be a little more expensive than vegetables. The only reason they didn't make my top 5 list is because I know it can be a challenge for a lot of people out there to find the space for a fruit tree. You need full sun, and oftentimes you need 8 to 15 feet in width and up to 20 feet in height. And I know not everybody has a big backyard where they can plant a bunch of fruit trees. But if you do, you should definitely consider getting fruit trees. That about wraps up today's video. I want to hear in the comments if you agree or disagree with some of the crops I listed here today. And if this video was helpful for you, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.